Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Because we want where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party? Got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Because we want where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Because we want where it's all gonna end, yeah. If you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing, if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Want somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy. Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good afternoon, Tuesday the 4th of March 2025. My name is Raj Amir. This is one of those Recusant 9 transmissions. I was meant to come along last night, but it is Ramadan and I got diverted with a whole host of family invitations. And who am I to refuse an opportunity to go and visit someone and nibble a samosa? So that's some of what happened last night. I was waiting on some information to come back to me, which came back to me this morning, so I thought we'd do it now. I know we have a much lower turnout than usual, but I'm sure people will catch up as the day progresses. Shelley Kipling has been appointed Chief Executive of Oldham Council. Most of you have no idea who Shelley Kipling is. By the time I finished with you today, not only will you know who she is, I believe you will also share my strong reservations about her appointment. As always, the work I do is 100% community funded. At the very least, like and share the content. It means that you've got here because someone liked and shared a post or recommended me to you. Our numbers are small, so the only way we grow is by you recommending me to others. So the way you do that is either by word of mouth or let the algorithm do its job and just like the content, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. However, I am 100% community funded, and since I went free to air, and all my content is now completely free, since I went free to air, I lost between 25% to 33% of my paid subscriber base. It's not a lot, I accept that, because I have existed on not a lot for the last 5-6 years. So if you are new to me, or if you are yet to do so and can afford to do so, please consider taking out a subscription to Red Wall and the Rabble. I'll put it up here. It's £3 a month, 75 pence a week, or £30 for the full year. You can pay more if you want, but that's the lowest I could make it where it works without. By the time the management fees are took by various platforms, I'm left with nothing. So that's the lowest I can actually have it at where I get a return, 75 pence a week. Today, my target is 10 new subscribers a day, 10 new paid subscribers a day. That's the target to try and make up. And today so far we've hit 2. So I'm very grateful to the 2 people who've committed. I think they paid £30 each for the full year rather than the £3 a month. So I'm very, very grateful to both of you. Yesterday we hit the 10. I'm hoping today, by the end of today, we'll have also hit the 10 and we carry on. So thank you very much to Mick, and you can also super chat me. And yes, Michael, I know all of this. You don't have to say it. It's all going on in Northampton, England. It's all going on all across England because you people allow it to. Because you people won't get off your asses and won't get organised and won't get coordinated, and you allow it to. That's why it's still going on. We allow it to go on. They get away with it because we allow it to. We allow them to. It's as simple as that. Please like, please share, and please, if you can, subscribe to the channel. It's not a lot of money, and it's what keeps me going. Afternoon, mate. How you doing? And I'm sorry to hear that, Michael. I'm very sorry to hear that. Shelley Kipling has been named as Oldham Council's Chief Executive Designate. It was published on Wednesday. They published it at the time I came on last Wednesday, where I was going to announce it, and then they published it scared that I would announce it. I'll start here by saying I'm extremely disappointed. I'm extremely disappointed in the Oldham Council Appointments Committee, which includes opposition councillors from the Liberal Democrats, the Independents and the Conservatives. I have no interest in the sectarian groups, so they'll do whatever they do. The Pakistani sectarians will always take care of themselves. So I'm not really interested in what they do, because I have no expectations of them, apart from look after themselves. That's Cameron Ghaffar and his team. They call themselves the Oldham Group. Basically, the Pakistani sectarians, Islamist separatists, I don't know. You describe them however you want, but every councillor they have is Muslim. Every candidate they've ever had is a Muslim. Oldham Council has named Shelley Kipling as its Chief Executive Designate to take the borough forward in the coming years. Shelley, who is currently acting Chief Executive at Oldham Council, was the unanimous choice, that means all of them, of the cross-party appointments committee for the position, following a tough process attracting a range of high-calibre candidates. Complete lie. They had 3 candidates that they shortlisted. One of them comes with a dodgy record from somewhere else where it was Deputy Chief Executive or Chief Executive. One was punching above their weight, and then you had Shelley Kipling, which was the internal choice. Now, the reason she had to apply for this job permanently was because she had been appointed on an interim basis, and the council's own external review team questioned her appointment as an interim chief executive without due process. So they went through this Mickey Mouse interview process, which is essentially what it was. And they shoehorned Shelley Kipling in, and to my disgust, not just disappointment, this cross-party appointments committee, which includes Conservatives, includes Liberal Democrats, includes Independents, and the Pakistani sectarians, all appointed her, despite knowing what they know. And at this Thursday's council meeting, they are due to vote her in. Leader of Oldham Council, Arood Shah, that's the Pakistani gangster endorsed. I'll keep saying it, you can't arrest me for it. Well, you can try again if you want. If you dare, Andy Burnham. Try it if you dare. The gangster endorsed council leader of Oldham, Arood Shah, had this to say. I'm thrilled, I'm wheelie thrilled that we've appointed Shelley to this role following a highly competitive selection process. There was nothing highly competitive about it. They keep repeating those words so you'll believe them. Which attracted an impressive field of candidates. Well, why don't you publish the number of candidates who applied and the number of candidates who met the minimum criteria and the number of candidates who were shortlisted, Arood Shah? Then we'll see what an impressive field of candidate looks like. You Pakistani gangster endorsed rape gang protecting leader of a corrupt criminally infiltrated council. That's what you are, Arood Shah. That's what your council is. Shelley's passion for Oldham shone through this process, and she demonstrated clearly the care she has for our residents and communities. So much care she has for our residents and communities. Of course, Shelley Kipling does not live in Oldham, do you, Shelley? You have so much care for the people of this town that you don't live amongst the people of this town. The coming years will be so important for Oldham as we drive forward our plans to regenerate and transform our borough, continue to improve our vital public services, and work with our partners and residents to create a better Oldham. That's not why you've appointed her, is it? The coming years will be so important because you need to cover up the rape gangs. I can think of no better than Shelley. Yes, I agree with you. If I was in your position, I could think of no better than Shelley to work alongside me, you, as we lead this crucial work to set a clear vision for the future of Oldham, deliver a new era of public service, and restore pride and hope to our wonderful borough. Well, the only way we'll restore pride and hope to our wonderful borough is by seeing the likes of you in prison, is my position. And your mentor leader, Jim McMahon, in prison. And your pal, Irish Shimmy, nowhere near the council. Shelley Kipling had this to say: I am so proud to work for Oldham, a place I love. I'd love to place you, Oldham, as well, if you were getting £250,000 a year. No, more, mate. More with the add-ons. £250,000. And begin giving this opportunity to serve Oldhamers at such an important time for our borough is an honour. It's also a privilege to do this alongside a fantastic workforce. Remember, this fantastic workforce has left en masse, left the town, fled, who work every single day to make the lives of Oldham people better. It is an exciting moment to be part of Oldham's story, from regeneration and transformation across the borough. No examples of this regeneration and transformation, by the way, apart from on paper. New homes, new jobs, new opportunities, new Bentley. Arud Shah was seen driving around in at the weekend, by the way, sat in the passenger seat. £250,000, wasn't it, David? One of those Bentleys, brand new. Our service continuing to improve. A budget which is stabilised. It's on the verge of bankruptcy, by the way, the council, as confirmed by council officers and councillors. And a renewed sense of purpose for a place that has made it clear we will no longer be left behind. Have you gone and walked down Yorkshire Street and the number of Pakistani chicken shops? A place that will no longer be left behind. Oldham's time truly is now. The last two CEOs have indeed fled the town. Caroline Wilkins ran away scared with her entire leadership team after we exposed her role in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. Harry Caffrell left as soon as he could. And now we have Shelley Kipling. There is a real strength present in Oldham, which if we work together collectively to maximise and amplify, will make us unstoppable. What is this bullshit? What is this nonsense? Shelley, the current acting chief executive at the council, started her career in local government in 2003 before joining Oldham Council in 2009 and becoming head of communications. That's their own referencing her as head of communications. You can see that. Joined Oldham Council in 2009 and becoming head of communications. In 2015, so she worked in Oldham Council as becoming head of communications between 2009 and 2015. She left Oldham to join Manchester City Council to lead their communication function. Manchester Council is also a council neck deep in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of working-class white girls, including losing minutes to meetings that allowed 97 members of the Pakistani Bangladeshi Muslim taxi-driving child rapists, Labour Party supporters, to flee without punishment. Thank you, George. You should be thankful it was fried chicken. You could smell. Shelley returned to Oldham Council in 2019 as Assistant Director for Strategy, Performance and Communications. As a result, Shelley was instrumental during our borough's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, total nonsense, and our plans for recovery afterwards. Shelley was promoted to Assistant Chief Executive in 2021, where she took on additional responsibilities, including human resources and organisational development. Is that why so many of them have left? And in January 2024, Shelley took on responsibility for customer services and IT. Shelley has been instrumental in our work to build greater financial sustainability and transform council services. When she was appointed interim chief executive, this is what Lewis Quigg had to say at the time. I'll bring him up.
Essentially, it's a fait accompli. We've been presented with 3 candidates, one has been chosen, and basically that is all we're going to get. So in 6 months' time, we'll be here again to review this, which seems again like a bit like a halfway house situation. And if I was a betting man, which I'm not, except on weekends perhaps, the prediction I made a few months ago has actually come true, because it was my reading of the tea leaves, shall we say, that Shelley Kipling would be chosen based on the Game of Thrones style situation that the leader of the council employs when dispatching and employing people at this council.
Happened quicker than you think, Councillor Quigg. So you're back in the council chamber on Thursday to officially confirm voting in Shelley Kipling as leader of Oldham Council. Sorry, as the chief executive of Oldham Council. I want to bring to your attention a number of serious concerns I have regarding Shelley Kipling. Whilst Assistant Chief Executive Deputy during the summer, when the riots took place from Southport and the fallout, Shelley Kipling, Councillor Lewis Quigg and the Conservatives put up a statement objecting to a picture in the local paper which depicted the convicted Pakistani heroin dealing getaway cop killer's driver, Irish Imi, as part of a vigilante street patrol, wearing official Oldham Council vests, high-vis vests. Councillor Quigg's position was that the police should be responsible for enforcing law and order, not a vigilante mob. When Councillor Quigg put the post on his Facebook, on the Conservatives' Facebook page, this is what Shelley Kipling had to say regarding discussions regarding social media. This is the email. Can you find some time today for a quick phone call and an informal and confidential chat? I'd like to discuss the potential protest last night and the post on Oldham Conservatives page. I don't normally intervene with political communications, but in this instance I wanted to discuss some of the claims made in the post which are untrue and could prove unhelpful while tensions are so high across the country. If you have some time, could you share your phone number and I will give you a call. This is the same tactic that these fucking vermin used to protect the Pakistani rape gangs. This is the exact same tactic that these people used to protect the Pakistani rape gangs. Tensions are high across the community. We need to maintain community relations, and of course, Shelley Kipling was, as demonstrated in their own press release, head of communications. It says she wasn't, she was deputy maybe, or in the communications team at the time, of Oldham Council that protected the Pakistani rape gangs. Fast forward 10 years, 15 years, and this woman objects to a democratically elected politician not being happy that the council is deploying Pakistani gangsters onto the street to work alongside the police. I do not want to see vermin Pakistani gangsters convicted for dealing heroin deployed onto the streets of my town or any town in this country as some form of militia, state-sponsored militia. Maybe they do this in Pakistan. Maybe they do this in Afghanistan. But we should not be doing it here. And this is Shelley Kipling attempting to intimidate and harass a democratically elected official representative that we voted in. This is what happens in a democracy. And she gets involved. She gets involved and tries to harass and intimidate. Can you find some time today for a quick phone call and an informal and confidential chat? I wanted to discuss some of the claims made in the post which are untrue and could prove unhelpful. This was Councillor Quigg's response. Dear Shelley, I don't think there is anything to talk about. We have not broken the law. We have evidenced our posts and our opinions are valid. I think Councillor Woodvine has articulated clearly already this morning how silly it was for the leader of the council to be there last night. It is not the actions of a serious politician. So Arooj Shah rocked up with a whole host of her Pakistani entourage, her Muslim Bangladeshi entourage. We leave policing to the police. Not some informal gangster militia. We wouldn't expect any politician to be there given the strain this puts the police under. What happened last night was a circus, and I know personally how a number of family and friends felt uncomfortable to go shopping yesterday at Aldi in Westwood given it was boarded up. These matters are not made any better when we have a convicted criminal and convicted getaway driver for Dale Cregan, the police killer, pose for pictures with senior councillors and for the council leader to praise such a community volunteers per the post on Oldham Times. On what planet do you think that is normal? It isn't. Since Sir Robert Peel founded the police have been there to police our streets. No law-abiding subject of the Crown can replace an officer of the Crown. Such actions lead to vigilantism. We would never endorse or allow community volunteers to patrol our streets when there could well be serious violence. And it continues. She doesn't give up. She responds. Dear Councillor Quigg, I wanted a conversation because it was clear from the post that there was a misunderstanding about the role played by elected members. Well, if there's a misunderstanding by the role played by the gangster-endorsed Arooj Shah, then it's for the gangster-endorsed Arooj Shah to make a statement. Not for her bitch, Shelley Kipling, to come out and make a statement. I had hoped that I could privately put the facts to you to allow you to consider the tone and content of the post in light of the true picture of last night's operation. So she wants it censored. The council has worked side by side with Greater Manchester Police all week to provide reassurance and to put in place plans to prevent any disorder in Oldham. I have not seen any document that said the police's plans, by the way, was to recruit the getaway driver of a cop killer. As part of this, Greater Manchester Police and our communities team have supported a range of community engagement and communications activities to provide reassurance around rumoured disorder and to prevent disorder as much as possible. The Chief Constable himself was in Oldham yesterday discussing this approach with the leader and with other stakeholders. Of course, the Chief Constable Watson is neck deep in the cover-up of the gang rape of children. He's had to stand up in front of the world cameras and apologise for his police force's failings. And when the public inquiry comes, Watson's police force will be clearly demonstrated evidence to be involved in working with Pakistani gangsters and Islamists to try and silence whistleblowers. That's how high up this goes. That's how up this goes. Last night, a small counter-protest was held and a group of local people also gathered at the site. How do you know they were local people? How do you know they were local people? Shelley, you're not local. How do you know they were local people? As per the agreed plan, the council asked a range of local voices to support Greater Manchester Police in dispersing the crowds from the site. This included local councillors, faith leaders, and a number of other voices who had proved helpful and successful in engaging communities during the week leading up to last night's events. I don't care if a Pakistani gangster is helpful. I will never work with a convicted Pakistani gangster, heroin dealer, cop killer's getaway driver. Nor should any council. These people were not DBS checked. On what planet are you deploying convicted criminals onto the streets of our town to work with the police? Far from hindering a police operation, the deployment of council officers, local councillors and community ambassadors, there you have it. She's calling a convicted heroin dealer a community ambassador. Well, who the fuck appointed these people as community ambassadors? Who appointed them as community ambassadors, Kipling? Did he meet in one of the shisha bars whilst the rooms were being rented upstairs? Who appointed these people as community ambassadors? Who in the police approved? That police officers should be seen on the street stood alongside gangsters. I'm sorry. I am fuming. I am absolutely fuming at what's took place here. It is interfering with democracy, interfering with legitimate questioning, and not just that, she's trying to defend the deployment of a cop killer's getaway driver, a convicted heroin dealer, a career criminal. Why? Because he hangs off the arm of the council leader. He was driving her around this weekend in a Bentley. Where on earth does a convicted criminal who spent most of his life in prison, adult life in prison, get the money for a £250,000 car? And in what world should a council leader be sat in the passenger seat of such a car? In what world should the now soon to be appointed chief executive be defending the deployment of Pakistani gangsters onto the streets of Oldham? Explain it to me. So I understand it, explain it to me, because I have spent parts of my life in places where law and order has broken down. And I don't want to see the place I called home go down that road in the same way, where we are looking to the goodwill of gangsters to protect us. She finishes off her email with this statement. I don't think this level of misinformation, what's the misinformation, being shared directly by elected members is helpful, giving ongoing tensions and our shared duty to ensure the safety of Oldham communities. That shared duty is how hundreds, if not thousands, of my town's children continue to get gang raped because of white women like Shelley Kipling hiding the Pakistani rape gangs. I have no shared duty to look the other way or to support criminals. Nor should anyone. Can I ask you to reconsider on this basis? Dear Shelley, simple answer, no. You have made your opinions as a public official usually clear. The question is why? You admit that you normally wouldn't do so, and on that basis, if it isn't normal course of action to do so, then you probably should not do so. Do it now. I wouldn't expect you to get involved in what is a political posting and exchange. The police are there to police. What you have written is deeply concerning for long-term policing in our borough and public trust. I expect the police to police our streets without fear or favour. I don't expect self-appointed community volunteers. Who appointed them? Who elected them? To be doing the job of an officer of the Crown. I find that deeply troubling, especially on the King's Highway and by a convicted criminal with a deplorable rap sheet. I see no reason to have a prolonged exchange. What you are attempting is censorship and political interference. You know what these bastards then did? They tried to have Lewis Quigg arrested. They tried to have the councillor arrested. So much so that Councillor Holly Harrison in the following council meeting stood up and made reference to Lewis Quigg apparently being investigated by the police or having been reported to the police. This is what a Pakistani gangster-run town looks like, and this is what you're going to have in towns and cities across the country because we are cowards. We are cowards who will not stand up for our communities, who will not stand up for our democracy, and we will not stand up for our children. And you will see on Thursday cowards enter that council chamber. Councillor after councillor elected on a mandate to oppose this, who will meekly raise their hands and support the approval of this woman into the most powerful paid role in the town. That's the one. Voluptuous Holly. I cannot comment on how her dating, how her bio is aiding her dating. Here you see it, Harry Caffrell, Assistant Chief Executive Shelley Kipling. Emma Barton, of course, was made into interim chief executive, and then Shelley Kipling and Arud Shah manoeuvred Emma Barton out of the way. Shelley Kipling became interim. That wasn't allowed, and so they went through this sham, rigorous, whatever process that led to her. This is what she had to say at the time. In 2021, when Harry Caffrell came in, she reposted it. Delighted to announce Oldham Council have just confirmed my appointment as chief executive. Very excited and proud. Didn't last long, did it, Harry? Off you went, neck deep in the cover-up of the Pakistani rape gangs, neck deep in the corruption that infests this town. He's now in Tameside. He's basically a Labour Party fixer. Came from Blackburn, came to Oldham, couldn't fix it, and now fucked off to Tameside. This is Shelley Kipling back in 2015, celebrating Oldham's fantastic work to help residents into work and create jobs. Of course, there was no residents being supported into work and no jobs were being created. Love events like this. Next to Jim McMahon, now MP, neck deep in the cover-up of the Pakistani rape gangs. Morning Kippers, I think, was her title, but here she is. Kevin Fitzpatrick. So the Morning Kippers was me playing on words, but this is Kevin Fitzpatrick that Shelley Kipling is reposting. Kevin Fitzpatrick, of course, is the BBC journalist, exposed for his role in covering up the grooming and gang rape of children in my town. With Jim McMahon, who's front and centre there. That's the previous leadership team. See her reposting that? Oldham Council has announced game-changing development. Well, if they announced a game-changing development in 2014, it's now 2025, 11 years since. What game-changing has taken place? Last time on full council duty with Carlos Marsden and last council for Jim from Oldham, end of an era. Shelley Kipling herself, January the 27th, 2016, confirming her relationships with Carl Marsden in the communications team, who has been exposed for his role in helping hide helping cover up the grooming and gang rape of children. He celebrated it as a win. Great news, I think he said. So what role did she play? Here she is in the comms team. Thanked him for cupcakes, so that clearly shows she was working in that communications team that helped bury the news. That is Warren Bates there, mate. That is Warren Bates in the bottom right hand corner. A lone voice. And she's on a night out. It just got messy with a deep dive into Zambuca. Well, I'm going to deep dive Shelley Kipling. Here she is in 2014 retweeting and sharing Jennifer Williams. Jennifer Williams was at the MEN at the time. She's now with the Financial Times, one of Andy Burnham's key media associates. Jennifer Williams is neck deep in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children in my town. She was given the stories at the time. She helped bury it, didn't you, Jennifer Williams? Here she is reposting Angela Rayner, a political post. I'm delighted to be taking on the role of Shadow Secretary of State for Levelling Up Housing and Communities. As a council officer high up in that position, she should not be endorsing Labour Party politicians. She's clearly demonstrating her political loyalties. A senior council official should not be doing that. And here is her being appointed as acting chief executive. Here is some information I got. John Smith, anonymous, one of my anonymous contacts. Carolyn Wilkins' personal relationship, that's Carolyn Wilkins, who's the previous chief executive before the previous one, with Lewis Greenwood, who's now gone, her toy boy, Helen Lockwood, who's now gone, Julia Veal, Rebecca Sutcliffe, who's now gone, and the hiring of Shelley Kipling as an assistant director was also very dodgy. So this is an internal senior member of my team from within Oldham Council whistleblowing to me, confirming that when Shelley Kipling was hired as the assistant director, her appointment was extremely dodgy. All of them appointed to their roles would pay above market rate and what their job is valued at market value. That's who these people are. Here is Councillor Mark Hinds sending me something. You can see it there. I don't care, because he's going to support it now, so I want you to see it. Councillor Mark Hinds sent me this. He was sent to this by a man called Matt Drogan. Matt Drogan was the husband of a woman called Liz Drogan, who's now left. Liz Drogan was the Director of Constitutional Services. I didn't tell you this, but you might want to share with Raja. Shelley Kipling and Lewis Greenwood are the officers in bed with Arood Shah. Since being an apprentice, Greenwood has risen to assistant director without so much as a formal interview. I think he's buggered off now, Greenwood. Kipling was given the job of assistant chief executive without interview too. pretty certain that Catherall's hands were tied and Aruj was making all these decisions. The three are never apart, Aruj, Kipling and Greenwood. So there you have it. Information from inside the council passed on to me by a councillor and now a member of Aruj's inner circle, confirming Kipling's dodgy appointment as Assistant Chief Executive, and now her fast-track promotion to Chief Executive can only be for one reason. And that reason, of course, is to help manage any investigation that comes along into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. And Kipling has a vested interest because Kipling has questions to answer herself, because she was a senior member of the communications team at the time the rape gangs were protected by the council, specifically her boss, Carl Marsden. And I've evidenced it. As you can see, I keep the receipts. I've evidenced all of this. It gets worse for Shelley Kipling. Ready? Okay, I'm looking at my screen. I've got a handful of likes. I've got one person bought me a samosa. And there's 228 of you. If you take value in this work, the vast majority of you do not subscribe to my newsletter website, Redwall and the Rabble. Free, paid, vast majority of you don't. You need to subscribe or you need to stop taking value in this content, because I can only continue with your support. So if you find value, you need to support me. No one else is doing this for you. No one else has done this for you. And this is more significant in Oldham, because once we expose it in Oldham in the way we have, you will see the exact same patterns wherever else in the cities or towns or cities where you live, where you're worried about this. And it's easy saying, oh, we know about this, we know about that. No one evidences it. No one joins the dots up. None of this work took place until I came along. So if you find value, support me. Or it's only a matter of time before this ends. 75 pence a week, for crying out loud. I'm sorry, mate. They get away with it now because if I hadn't done it, who else would? Tell me, who else would? Thank you. And I know you do, George, and I know so many of you do, which is why I'm still here. So I'm grateful to you and those who do support me. So when I do ask, I'm not asking you, I'm asking what the stats show me, which is over 99% of the people who engage in my content do not support me, I'm afraid, George. Sorry, my phone's going off and I'm looking at my phone and it's, yeah, these people. Yeah. We'll get to that in a moment. At the council meeting on the 12th of February 2025, an extraordinary council meeting that we forced, manoeuvred, manipulated. You all seen that. We forced the council to instruct the chief executive to write to the government for a national inquiry. Here we go. Request for a national public inquiry that investigates the scourge of child sexual exploitation. This was the letter issued to the Home Office from the acting chief executive. That's Shelley Kipling. When someone asks the chief executive and you vote on something as important, as significant as this, a letter is meant to be sculptured, meant to be drafted. What's the PayPal link? Thank you, Susan. Susan's one of my supporters. It supports me anyway. Some people like Susan give me extra money. It hurts me. Let me make sense of this. When the chief executive is instructed to write a letter, there is an expectation that they will take the motion, make sense of what's been asked, and sculpt a letter that's compelling, that's persuasive, and that reflects the severity of what's took place. I don't think that's an unreasonable way of looking as to what the chief executive is meant to do. What this chief executive, remember, neck deep in the cover-up of the gang rape of children in this town, did, is astonishing. And I'm going to share the letter with you. This is the letter she sent. You can see acting chief executive. Dear Home Secretary, regarding Oldham Council resolution request for a national public inquiry that investigates the scourge of child sex exploitation. The full council at its extraordinary meeting on the 12th of February 2025 unanimously approved the following motion. She's just copied and pasted the motion. I look forward to being able to report back to the council with your reply. She's just copied and pasted. There you go, that's her signature. She just copied and pasted the motion. I look forward to being able to report back to the council with your reply. Word for word, all she's done is copied and pasted the motion. See it now. What is the point of forcing all of this through, all of these votes, using democracy the way you do, when the person instructed to carry out the task of writing to the government for a public inquiry does this? Copies and pastes the motion. No sentences, no persuasion, nothing. £250,000 a year communications expert. Makes you feel sick. Shelley Kipling. She should be investigated. She has questions to answer, as do many of us still in the council. The editor of the Oldham Evening Chronicle, that's the oldest publication, newspaper publication, the one that we all have an affinity with. Births, marriages, deaths. five-a-side cup winning competitions, all of that. The Oldham Evening Chronicle, now online only. Struggling. The editor of the Oldham Evening Chronicle went to Shelley Kipling with serious concerns of corruption. Shelley Kipling's response to him was, "This individual you've come to me with concerns about knows a lot of powerful politicians," or words to that effect. Shelley Kipling is not just neck deep in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. She is also neck deep in her associations with Arooj Shah and all of the corruption that underpins everything wrong with Oldham. Which is why I am on the verge of saying there is no saving this town. Because those we've elected are in bed with these people. They've been bribed, they've been bought, they've been intimidated. I'm fully aware there are a number of councillors who are currently scared as to what's taking place. I'm fully aware of a councillor who's been reported back to me that because of some of the work they're involved in, the council have tried to shut them down, including Shelley Kipling, and her name has been mentioned in senior briefings at Greater Manchester Police. I'm genuinely disappointed in the Conservatives because they would have been involved in this, and I reached out to the new Conservative leader, Dave Arnott, and he tried to tell me he was unaware of what had taken place. He lied to me. He outright lied to me. So this is what I say to every one of you councillors. You all know what's gone on. You all know she has questions to answer. And you all know of her bullying tactics, as just demonstrated in the email exchange with Lewis, never mind any of the other stuff. You need to vote against ratifying her appointment. It's as simple as that. And everyone who votes in support of ratifying her appointment is voting to protect the Pakistani Rape Gangs. Is voting to protect Arooj Shah's tyrannical, gangster-endorsed rule over our town, and is voting to keep things ticking along as they currently are. There is no middle ground here. A vote for Shelley Kipling is a vote for the destruction of this town. I'll read something again that Councillor Quigg shared. Vote of no confidence. Well, councillors in Tameside Metropolitan Borough Council push for a vote of no confidence in the imposed leader of TMB, of Tameside Council, Oldham Metropolitan Borough Council will not have such a vote. Here are the reasons why. 1. The agreement. There is an agreement in place with 4 independent councillors, the Failsworth Independents, that's Hindle and Hobin, and the Shaw Independents, that's Mincy Boy, Mark Hintz, and Lisa Navesey, with Labour. So we voted these people in, they got in bed with Labour, and the Labour 27 with these 4 gives them a majority of 31. They are obliged to support the Labour administration in a vote of no confidence. Opposition groups. The opposition groups on OMBC will have to agree who will replace the leader of the council. Some want to keep Arooj Shah in power. You would be surprised who. Others want to be in charge themselves. Others don't know and others don't care. 3. The CEO. The chief executive will use all tactics to ensure the incumbent remains in place. Remember, Shelley Kipling, as according to the message I shared with you, from a senior Oldham Council source, ratified by the husband of the, at the time, Director of Constitutional Services, of how Shelley Kipling got her original job, with Arud Shah, they're like this, yeah? The CEO, Shelley Kipling, will use all tactics to ensure the incumbent remains in place. A number of the senior cadre of officers don't want a change in leadership, given a number of them are former members of the Labour Party or are dependent on the patronage on the current incumbents. Fear and favour. Number 4. You may wonder why councillors seem quite happy to ditch their promises and principles. I will spill it down into the following. 1. Money. A number of councillors get extra responsibility allowance and want a payday. Holbein hints is head of planning, for instance. What does he know about planning? Just been appointed though with a... Yeah. Fear. Politics is a dirty business, and like the KGB, politicians and council officers know where their bodies are buried. Favour. This one is simple. If you do something for me, I will do something for you. They've tried fear and favour with me, by the way. I don't need anything of these people. I've been very clear. I'd rather starve on the street than look the other way and remain silent to the gang rape of my town's children. Liars. Some are straight up liars, who, for example, want to put on their dinner suit and brown nose the mayor and leader of the council for a favour. Cowards. These are the people who just want an easy ride. They have no principles, are gullible, and are easily manipulated. So to answer the question, will there be a vote of no confidence? No. I am sick of propping up others and taking the flak whilst they stab me in the back. This is Lewis Quigg. I am sick of propping up others and taking the flak whilst they stab me in the back. So I won't be wielding the metaphorical axe. Should the situation arise, then my vote would be to remove Labour and Arud Shah from power. I have tried twice. It is clear, however, there is a long way to go before that ever happens. I would encourage residents to contact councillors and ask them directly. This Thursday's vote on the Chief Executive and budget will demonstrate that. Councillor Lewis Quigg. I am very clear. 6 years in, many of you in that council chamber would not be in that council chamber if I and my team had not done what we had done, which was put our lives on the line. Anyone who votes in support of Shelley Kipling, an individual who should actually be investigated for what's taken place, rather than be promoted. Anyone who votes for Shelley Kipling is my enemy. There are no ifs, there are no buts, there are no maybes. You all know the truth. You all know what she's done, you all know her tactics, you all know who she's in bed with, and you all know what her past is. Anyone who votes in support of her, I will come for. And I will mobilise in a way you have never seen before. It is clear from Lewis's comments that the independent movement in Oldham is over. We've got them elected and they've got in bed with people, or we've got them elected and they don't have the courage. Well, we'll see on Thursday who votes. And I'm not interested in our abstaining. That's a coward's way out. We will see who votes in support of the appointment of Shelley Kipling as Chief Executive of Oldham Council. I am becoming increasingly party political. I think it's very clear to those of you, because I need to become. We have tried the independent route and I have stood on my own. And I came up short. So I don't need some dickhead coming along and telling me, don't join this or don't do that. It's easy when you haven't put your neck on the line. The problem we have in Oldham is that reform is led by a man called Paul Eric, and it's essentially a bunch of racists who are in control of the branch. I think they've got a meeting on Monday in a pub. I'm going to the meeting in Tameside tonight. I'm going to meet with the reform team in Tameside because I live in Tameside. I'm also arranging meetings with senior reform leaders. Yes, this is me. T-shirt, hot water bottle here, by the way, because I know I'm a bit cold where I am. But watch what I do. And not just watch what I do in Oldham, watch what I do across this entire country, because this is what is happening and you need to be careful. You need to be careful. Every one of you needs to be careful. The Pakistani gangsters don't care anymore. They don't need political parties. Here is Irish Imi and his team. Just look at that. Constructive and positive meeting, a campaign team committed on positively improving our community, apparently standing in Werneth 2026. Hashtag fuck the Tories. Of course, Irish Imi is not fighting the Tories in Werneth. So I don't know why he's fucking the Tories. Because there are no Tory councillors there. The person up is a Labour Party councillor called Fida Hussain. Arood Shah's business lead. Why is Arood Shah not commenting? She won't be campaigning because there's a Pakistani civil war going on, and these positions, these political parties are just mechanisms through which they've operated, and now they can ignore them. You have got Dale Cregan's getaway driver announcing, and this is his team, announcing that he's standing for election. This is the Oldham group. Shah Brahman is St Mary's campaigner. Mr. Mir Ajawat is the Waterhead campaigner. This is the Pakistani attempt to take over Waterhead. They've got 2 Asian councillors. They'll have 3 by the time this is finished. You people are losing your town. You're losing your cities. You're losing your communities to this. And you need to get organised. And I am here to help you. And I will join a political party very soon, I think. Because we have no choice. So once again, the choice you have is either support me or surrender. Or pretend typing behind a keyboard or going and marching up and down streets fighting Antifa or some shit will make a difference, because it won't. The only way we can rescue this is by politically mobilising. I don't know how much came to me via the super chats on YouTube, but I can confirm I've had a couple of samosas brought to me. and not a single sign up to the webpage.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.